Welcome to another episode of UEN's PDTV. Today we are investigating how teachers find digital resources for the classroom. Resources like lesson plans, activities, and videos that support classroom instruction. To help with our investigation, we spoke with two educators, Lindsay Henderson, a mathematics specialist at the Utah State Board of Education, and Jennifer Burt, a mathematics teacher at Syracuse Junior High.
I'm charged with leading stakeholder input as far as standards are concerned for secondary mathematics and best practices like pedagogy, and then we have board rules to keep everybody on the straight and narrow path.
I teach math, and I teach mostly to 7th graders, occasionally a few 8th and 9th, but for the most part I teach 7th grade math. I've been doing it for about 2 years now at Syracuse Junior High, and then prior to that I was actually an elementary teacher, and I did like upper elementary, 5th, 6th grade for about 2.5 years before that.
EdTech Competency 1A focuses on foundations of instructional design and pedagogy, specifically essential educational technology skills. In this episode, we'll see how Lindsay and Jennifer find, curate, and organize educational resources utilizing UEN's eMedia platform. Lindsay has been involved in curating math resources just for Utah educators. She'll tell us about the process of curating these resources and organizing them into a hub in eMedia.
It's really important that teachers have resources to teach through those high quality and evidence-based teaching practices. And it's really important that there's not a whole lot of work that teachers have to do to access those resources. So the eMedia Hub centralizes the location specific to Utah's population, Utah's standards, Utah's high quality standards for math instruction, and allows teachers to just go to one place, pick a standard, have a bunch of rich mathematical tasks from which to choose, so that it alleviates their planning process.
And you and I had the opportunity to work together
We did.
on this project of trying to gather more high quality math tasks to supply for teachers through eMedia. So tell me a little bit about this project and the process that we went through.
Well, I used to just keep a Google document that linked out to different websites and had a short description, kind of told some grade bands where the math tasks fit. And it was very popular. Lots of teachers used it. And then when I found the eMedia Hub's ability to tag different tasks by standard, by content area, by even grouping the same kind of tasks together in a task bank, and it made it, the accessibility, I can't say enough about the accessibility for teachers. It's a one-stop shop for high quality tasks. So we worked together to I found teachers that were willing to work on the project, and they were familiar with my Google Sheet. And they were able to say, a lot of them had taught with the tasks, and so they were able to say, this task goes to this standard, this task goes here. And the neat thing about tasks is they are low threshold, high ceiling, and so a lot of the tasks span several grade levels. So it gives kids a lot of opportunity for entry points, and then also you can extend it really far. And so I love the fact that we have this, a lot of the tasks don't just fit within one grade level. They span a bunch, and it's important for kids to revisit sometimes these tasks as they grow mathematically so that they can develop their mathematical thinking. And the teachers that worked on the project were just like really tuned in with that process and knew exactly where to tie those tasks.
So how did you support the teachers in ensuring that what we curated was high quality, and how did you give them some assistance in aligning them to Utah core standards for math?
We relied on a body of research from, I believe it's Stein, Smith, and Erickson for their task analysis guide. It's divided into 4 quadrants, and it starts with, it ends in a quadrant that's doing mathematics, right? And that's where we want kids to have a lot of experiences with rather than just rote procedure. And so we use that task analysis guide to help guide which websites we wanted to include in the task bank, and then the teachers use their expertise. I mean, teachers know the content that is in their grade level, and so we got a wide variety of teachers, high school, middle school, all working together and tying these amazing tasks to their standards. So those two pieces were really instrumental. There's a math-specific eMedia hub. It goes K through 12th grade, even beyond through calculus and statistics beyond the secondary math 3. And teachers can go to this website, and first it gives you an overview of all the hundreds of tasks the teachers have aligned that fit in with the Utah Core, that fit our standards for how to teach mathematics and what to teach in mathematics. And then there are these little collections, and the collections are done by grade level, the collections are done by standard, the collections are also done by the provider. So we have some of the tasks that come from U-Cubed and Open Middle. They each have their own little collection. So if a teacher's really I think a lot of teaching these tasks is not only finding the task that teaches the content right, but the task that the teacher enjoys teaching and can elicit the most student response out of. So if you find a collection of tasks that you're really interested in, going and finding more in those collections by the vendor are really important as well.
The eMedia Hub described by Lindsay is a great place to start to find mathematics resources. But our investigation is not complete until we see how the hub is being used at the classroom level.
I do use some digital resources, and I have that option for kids, but I've also found so many kids in this digital age really love to just have like paper and pencil. And so I try to find a lot of resources, and sometimes that can be difficult. It's been nice to have places online that I can go to find some of those resources. That eMedia definitely has a lot of them there. I find them through other colleagues, they give me links, but I try to have a good assortment of digital versus pencil and paper, as well as just some activities and games that can get kids engaged when they feel like they want to try something different.
Tell me a little bit about how eMedia specifically helps you find and curate resources.
Well, the thing that I love about eMedia is that if I'm looking for a specific standard or a specific activity, I can find it through there and I can make sure that they're standard aligned, because I'm sure that you're aware there's a lot of resources out there, and I hate having to like pick through things and go, well, okay, this is workable, but this part right here isn't going to work for me. So I found that really helpful to be able to find things by standard. It's also been wonderful to have that organization with that eMedia, because then that way I can find a specific standard, I can find just things for 7th grade, I can find things just for math, and so it allows me to kind of filter through so that I can pick those, because like you said, if I had to come up with all those resources, or if I had to pick through every single thing, I would be spending all of my prep time just doing that alone.
I love that you're mentioning the filters, because if you were to just go in and search math in eMedia, thousands and thousands of things to sort through. So those filters help a lot. How have you utilized collections and hubs to help with this process even more?
Yeah, for sure. I do know that there's a hub that's specific that I know you've mentioned Lindsay Henderson, and I worked with her multiple times from USBE, and I know that she has ones that, to me, it's kind of almost like a stamp of like, these are good ones to use, right? And so again, it helps me filter through that I can feel a little bit more positive that other people have used those resources, and so that way it just gives me that like, okay, maybe these are more tried and true, instead of just something that someone randomly thought was great and didn't really have much expertise as far as if it really worked in the classroom or not.
Now, you're not just finding resources in eMedia, although that's huge to be able to take them, apply them to your classroom, but you're also creating in eMedia. Tell me about the kinds of things that you're sharing with other educators through that platform.
I have been teaching classes for educators for the last probably 2 years now. So I've been doing a lot of professional development courses. I've done them through Davis School District. I've worked with USBE, and I just recently taught at UCTM. And so I have a lot of resources I've created in my classroom, mostly because I do teach a little bit different than traditional teaching. And I have a lot of different resources I've created in my studies on what would be best for my students. And I found most teachers, when I teach those classes, that's the first thing that they say is, where can I get these resources you've created? I've actually had Canvas courses that I've created, and I love Canvas, and Canvas is great, but one of the things that led me to eMedia was the fact that my Canvas courses, I had to add people in as teachers, I had to add them in because they could only have so much viewing access. Then if they didn't accept the invite, there was just a lot of communication that could fall. Whereas I feel like with eMedia, I can just put a link, I could even do a QR code in my classes, and it would send people to my hashtag that's got everything all compiled in one space, and I don't have to worry on my end of letting people in or approving this or adding these people to my list. It's very much, I can give them that, they can go log in, and they can get right there and see all of those resources in one spot.
And you also have the option of selecting licenses for your resources. Why does that matter to you?
Great question. I didn't realize how much it mattered to me until I started making more of these resources, and I started questioning what are these people doing with this? And I really hope they're not taking my resources and then I'm gonna find them one day on Teacher Pay Teacher and they're trying to make money off of it. So it's been really great for me to be able to go in there and put a license on that so that educators know they can use it however they'd like, but that it's only for them to use and not for them to solicit or to make money off of. And I feel like, to me, now that I know as an educator that I'm adding things into that, I've also realized how much more benefit and that there's more things out there for me to look for myself. So I know plans for next year, me and my teaching partner, we've decided like we want to add even more activities in, and I'm super excited to get to use eMedia because I know that there's a lot more resources out there for me.
So in the end, all of this curation of resources and creation of resources is to benefit students. How does this impact your teaching?
I came in as an educator a little bit later in the game. I had little kids and stayed home with them for a long time, and because of that, I had experience being the mom on the other side. And I knew when I went into education that I wanted to be there and do things that was best for kids. And some of the things that are best for kids fall outside of the traditional teaching realm. And so for me, when I was in college and in my first year or two, I really was trying to create a classroom culture where my students could feel like they could fail, they could make mistakes, they could be whoever they were, and they weren't going to have people questioning them or making them feel silly, or a teacher questioning them and making them feel silly. I know as educators sometimes we do that to students and we don't realize we're doing it in the questions we ask and the responses we give. So in my classroom, I try really hard to make it be a very student-centered classroom, and I really want kids to be risk takers. I really want kids to be okay with failing and messing up and realizing that that's how we get to success, is by having failures. And so I feel like this is my way of pushing that we can let go of control and that kids can step up to the plate, and if we have expectations of them, they can meet those expectations, whether that's educational expectations, behavioral expectations, just expectations as human beings. I don't want to spend my time looking for resources all weekend long. I don't want to spend my prep time in class having to make sure that I've got all these different activities and everything else. When I've got a location like eMedia, I can just find them, I can glance through them, I can know that they're going to be great, and then I can create them and even save them myself in my eMedia so that it's an easy resource to get back to for the future.
Thank you so much for sharing your practice with us, for sharing your resources with educators, and for letting us visit your classroom.
Well, you are welcome. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Now that you have seen EdTech Competency 1A in action, consider how you can implement this competency in your teaching as well. First, when searching for educational resources, be sure that you find high-quality, standards-aligned resources. Reach out to your EdTech coach or instructional coach to find out what educational practices your school or district is focusing on. They can also help you find pre-curated resources from your LEA so that you don't have to do all of the searching on your own. Then visit eMedia to find even more resources. As Jennifer pointed out, eMedia has tools to help you find, curate, and organize resources. There are also tools to help you evaluate resources so you can find the best of the best in eMedia. Not a math teacher? Not a problem. There are collections and hubs in eMedia for many content areas, and there are more to come. Need help using eMedia? The eMedia homepage and the Getting Started with eMedia hub have lots of tutorial videos that can help. Still not finding everything you need in eMedia? Try searching other sites like OER Commons or EdTech Commons like those created by Canvas, Nearpod, Google, or Apple. For even more ideas, strategies, resources, and tools to help you implement this competency, be sure to visit uen.org/PDTV and visit the teacher toolkit that accompanies this episode. Thanks for watching UEN's PDTV. To access more resources from UEN's professional development team and to schedule a training, visit uen.org/development. We'll see you next time.